very fulfilling when you're able to solve a problem, when you're actually able to enact policies that's going to not only affect you as a citizen, because even though I'm a city council, the same policies and procedures that we enact and that we put in place are the same ones that we have to comply to because we're citizens of the community. But it's just good to get those emails, phone calls. Some people like to text, saying that you're doing a good job. We know that what you do goes unnoticed, but we recognize what you're doing. So that in itself is very rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah, and Dr. Matthews, small town. Now he's in a position of influence and power here in Texarkana, Texas. And you talk about serving people, and it looks like there's a common thread of something that's been instilled in you from your grandparents, from your parents, of serving other people. And of course, being in the political position, before I understand that you have to continue to give a lot of yourself, and you can't be selfish in a position like that.
Exactly.
Where do you find time for yourself? What do you do to find time for yourself?
You know what, interestingly enough, outside of board obligations and, work, I'm a director of marketing at Edgewood Manor. And so outside of that, outside of being a dad, whenever I want to get away, I go home and I relax. I'm a huge kid, so I still watch my cartoons. I know that's one of the things that I thrived on whenever I was in grad school. I love my cartoons. For me, that was a temporary getaway, from all of the homework and the presentations and going to class and the studying late nights and things of that nature. Those things are my getaway. I love to draw. But like I said, I'm a homebody. I love to stay at home. My girlfriend and I, we'll watch a movie, we'll get our boys and, we may go to the park, we may go to the movie. So that's pretty much what I do to kind of get away from, the day-to-day functions of being Dr. Brian Matthews.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Matthews. And for the audience that's listening and viewing us, we'll be right back.
Grew up in a small town, and when the rain would fall down, I'd just stare out my window, dreaming of what could be, and if I'd end up happy, I would pray I could break away. I'll spread my wings and I'll learn how to fly. I'll do what it takes till I touch the sky, and I'll make a wish, take a chance, make a change, and break away. Out of the darkness and into the sun, I won't forget all the ones that I love. I gotta take a risk, take a chance, make a change, and break
Thank you for tuning in with us here at Real Talk with Johnny Ryland. Today, guess who I have with me? Dr. Brian Matthews. Not only is he a city council member, but he also serves as a marketing director here in the community. Tell us about your employment, and then we're going to talk about some of the current issues that are facing not only Texarkana, but America.
Okay. I'm actually director of marketing and admissions at Edgewood Manor. I've actually been marketing for about 12 years now. So my experience spans from retail management for about 3 years. Actually, I owned the marketing consultancy business for about 3 years. I sold insurance for about a year. And so, of course, I've been in long-term care for about 5 years. So currently what I do now is that all of the services that we have at our facility, as far as respiratory therapy, wound care, physical therapy, selective menus, things of that nature, I market all of those services and amenities to physicians, to discharge planners, social workers. We actually have respite care at our facility. So for those individuals that are taking care of loved ones at home and they actually need a break from caregiving, we actually have a respite program at our facility. And so it actually gives me an opportunity to, again, be out in the community, engage the community, and educate the community. You would actually be amazed at the lack of knowledge that people have whenever it comes to, putting a loved one in a nursing home or putting a loved one on hospice, being educated as far as power of attorneys, advanced directives, things of that nature. So it just gives me an opportunity to understand what people are going through. My grandmother, she was actually on hospice before she passed away, and she actually had breast cancer. And a month before she passed away, we actually put her on hospice. And interestingly enough, because I had worked in the hospice field for about 2 years, you think that you're prepared for that whenever it's your family member, because you're just so used to educating other people about hospice and how hospice is not about death and everything is going to be okay, and the grieving process and grieving before the grieving process and the normative process of grieving, things of that nature. But whenever it's your family member, it's totally different. All of that information that you knew because you regurgitated it numerous times, you totally forget that. And so this is actually an opportunity for me to understand what people are going through, take the experiences that I've had, not only as a marketer, but a caregiver myself, and be able to educate people and give them an opportunity to make formidable decisions.
And it's very interesting that I'm seeing the thread. Your grandparents, your parents, they showed you about giving back. They demonstrated it to you by giving to you and your brother. And then, of course, going to get your doctorate, they pushed you into that level and didn't want you to give up and wouldn't accept you giving up.
Right.
And then not only there, but you mentioned something about you having, you were a single parent with the son who was in pre-K. And it's good to see African American males who are in situations like this where they're willing to take the lead, because you hear all the other negative stories, and
Right.
it's good to see you set an example out there for other African American males who find themselves in that situation where they can be in a leadership role there. And then you talk about yourself from a work perspective. So we have doctor, politician, and then we have marketing executive with the company. So there's 3 arms there. Not only that, you're still willing to give back to our community. And that is an example for other people out there who say, well, I just don't have the time. There's a way for us to make the time to make those things work there. And just want to compliment you on that. Let's talk about some of the current events that are taking place, not only here in Texarkana, but education, youth with sagging. We can go almost anywhere
Right.
as it relates to that. Which one you want to deal with? You want to deal with the sagging first, or do you want to deal with the education first?
Well, you know what? We can actually save the best for last, and we can deal with the sagging first.
Okay.
I know the sagging was actually spearheaded by the council member in Ward 1, Councilmember Bradfield Castile, and he had actually brought up the point that he was actually tired of seeing young men, whether they are black, white, whatever nationality or whatever race, he was tired of actually seeing them sagging, walking down the street, being in restaurants, being on private property, public streets, whatever the case may be, and you see these individuals that are walking with their with their pants below their waist. And whenever he had actually brought the proposition to the city council, that we actually discussed this, and him and I actually wanted to see it in a written ordinance form, we again wanted to see what it looked like on paper. And so the city manager researched different cities in Louisiana to talk about exactly what measures they were actually taking and how they were responding to individuals that were sagging. So whether it was juvenile or whether it was an adult, if there was a fine that was attached to it, community service that was attached to it, what would actually be ideal for the city of Texarkana, Texas. And so we went through several public hearings and briefings to actually discuss sagging. And even though I missed the meeting by which we voted, and granted it was actually defeated by a vote of 3-2, and I was actually for the sagging ordinance because I know me personally, I don't like to see young men sagging. The impression that it gives and the perception that it gives to an individual that sees you coming and they automatically see you with your pants below your waist, you actually feed into a stereotype.
And yeah, I noticed you mentioned young men, but I've seen young women now sagging, which is very interesting to me, that this cultural phenomenon is taking place, not only in the U.S., but we were recently in the U.K., and there's some folks in the U.K. who are sagging.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like a global thing that is happening. And, you know, so what are some of the possible solutions like here in Texarkana? I know there was an ordinance. Is the city council going to bring that back up? Are they going to do further research? Or are we just going to let the community police itself? How are we going to handle that in the future?
Well, I know here within the near future, I don't think the city council is going to bring it back up to be discussed as far as making it a plausible ordinance. Probably one of the things that we're going to have to do is that is going to be an idea of it being trained at home, you know, for the parents to actually police, you know, what their kids are wearing. And obviously I know that there are parents that are doing the best job that they can do, you know, so whether you're a single mom, single dad, you know, whether you're a married family, and, you know, you actually have, you know, one or two of the parents that are actually working 2 jobs and you're just too busy to know what's going on, but you're still doing the best job that you can. Whatever your child does outside of the 4 walls of your home, you can't be with your child 24/7. You know, so it's going to take, you know, the parents, is going to take the schools, and then also it's going to take whether it's a juvenile or whether it's adults, it's actually going to take them knowing what type of impression sagging pants actually has, you know, for another individual that actually sees that. If you're an individual that's actually going in looking for a job, and interestingly enough, you have individuals that they'll come looking for jobs and they'll walk in, and I've seen it myself at our facility, they'll walk in with sagging pants, you know, and so no one is going to be interested in even looking at a resume. And you may be the smartest individual, the most articulate, outside of that current attire, you may be the most well-groomed individual, but there is an impression and a perception that actually comes along with those sagging pants. And so you won't give an individual an opportunity to even get to know who you are, whether you are a juvenile or whether you are an adult, because they automatically see the outward appearance, which are the sagging pants.
And you know, Dr. Matthews, I know you want to talk about education also, but we're out of time. And I want to personally thank you for coming in on the show and actually talking with us about the issues that are important, not only to you, but also the constituents that you represent. And thank you for listening to your grandmother, listening to your mother, and going on getting your doctorate, because I think you're a great example for others here who are in the community. I want to thank the viewing audience for being with us today. It was exciting talking to Dr. Matthews, and I have to have him back because what I want to do is deal with this issue of sagging pants, because I think that if we have enough men in the community and women in the community who are willing to hold individuals accountable, that we can make a difference. Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk with Johnny Riley. Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk with Johnny Riley. And guess what, folks? I have a very exciting guest with me today. I have a young person, Tarig Hill. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on the show. And you're an individual in our community who's striving and doing great things. And just so tell the guest about who are you?
Well, thank you for the introduction. But my name is Tarig Hill. I'm 18 years old. I was a graduate from Texas High. I graduated with honors, magna cum laude, and I was in a bunch of different activities at school. I was in the National Honor Society. I was in football, track. I was the vice president of Mu Alpha Theta. I did a lot of community service, and I just, I had a full plate in high school, but I definitely made time for a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I'm a very self-motivated person. I like for people to tell me to do things that I can't do. So then when I do them, I'll impress them.
Okay. And I noticed that you say you graduated top of your class, along with the multiple activities that you had. So basically what you're saying to the young people, and what I'm gathering, is that you can be involved in a lot of activities and still get your grades. So did you find it difficult to keep your grades up?
Well, there was definitely some times that were more difficult than others, but most of the time it was pretty it was pretty difficult.
Okay.
Because football is a very time consuming sport to play, and when you're practicing from 8 in the morning to 11:30, 12, and then in the summer, and then when you're in school, and then those afternoon practices, and definitely at Texas High, they'll kill you. But it was definitely challenging for the time management part, but the academic part, I could handle that pretty well.
Okay, so academics, you were a scholar, and then also you participated in football. So that's an example, I think, to some of our young people that are out there that are your age. You're 18 years old. You have your head on straight, as us older folks will say, and you have a bright future ahead of us. So during the summer, it's summer now. I know you're going to college. So what are you doing this summer?
Well, this summer I'm interning at the Housing Authority of Texarkana, Texas. It's I've interned there 2 years in a row before this one. It's the first 2 years I did maintenance. I changed light bulbs, I moved tables, I did just a variety of maintenance, just general maintenance. But this year I'm filling in a position that requires, well, it doesn't require any maintenance, but I have to interact with people more. I have to file paperwork. I have to type things into the computer, and I wouldn't say that that's something that I'd want to do all my life, but it's something in the meantime that's not too difficult and not too I wouldn't say.
So you say
Well,
not too challenging
Yeah.
for you, but what I like what you said is, from an educational standpoint, you took care of business when it was time to take care of business.
Yes.
And to graduate at the top of your class, you had to take care of business. But during the summertime, at least for now, it's 3 summers, you're willing to do something outside of the classroom and get some real life work experiences. And you talked about working in the maintenance area, and now because of your performance, I'm assuming that now you moved up. It's just like a promotion,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so what are some of the advice that you would offer to some of the young people who would be interested in maybe an intern program, whether it's with the Housing Authority or some other organization? What would you say to them to prepare them to get ready for that?
I would definitely tell them to take any chances that they can, because an internship is very valuable to a person, and it looks really good on your college. If you're trying to get into college, if you're trying to get into, and even if you're trying to get a different job, it looks really good that you tried to intern at a business that's willing to give you their time to teach you things, and maybe if you do good as an intern, they might want to move you up, as I did, and hire you on full-time or part-time.
And so those experiences really help individuals, specifically young people, because we hear all of the negative stuff about young people, but you're an example out there of young people, of a young person who, one, took care of business in the classroom. And I like to emphasize that, because I think education is one of those determining marks for us, and as we move forward in life. And then the other thing is that you also were willing to intern in not a fake job, but a real job where there's real work. And I know there's real work that takes place there, you know, at the Housing Authority, even to the point where we trust you enough to basically let you handle, you're there in some cases by yourself in this particular area working, and that's because of, I think, because of what you've done in the past and how comfortable people feel with you. Is there anything else you would share with somebody, a 16 or 17-year-old who may be interested in getting some additional work experience? Anything else you would like to share with them?
I would take any advice that the older people or the, well, not that much older, but
Oh, you call us old.
well, the more experienced people, because their advice really helps. The woman that I was working with, she really helped me with all aspects of the job, the handling of your business part and the keeping yourself, you know, on a professional level. And that, definitely take that advice and be willing to work, because if you're not willing to work, then you won't learn much from the experience.
Okay, so being willing to work and be willing to take the advice from those older people or those people more seasoned. It looks like you may have a political career ahead of you because you're able to work around that word of older people and use another word there. So that's great that you've had an opportunity to be there, you know, at the Housing Authority, and we really appreciate the job that you're doing there. And I want to share with the group that also you were able to be successful with some scholarships through the Southwest NARO. There was an amount that was given to you there, and then also the Texas Housing Association provided you with a scholarship, and that was because of your work ethic, because of your experience there at the Housing Authority, and most importantly because of the education that you have, the educational level that you've obtained. Thank you for joining us. We're excited that you're here. We have Tarig Hill, and we'll be right back.
Texarkana, Texas Housing Authority is leasing units at the following properties in the historic Rose Hill community.